Hey everyone, I'm glad you're able to join us on our special report talking about inflation. If you saw our April market commentary, I'll put a link to that up here if you haven't been able to watch it. We wanted to talk about inflation and what is taking place there. Inflation is one of those things that over the past 6 to 9 months, a lot of the industry professionals, some newsletters and things like that kept talking about, is it coming, is it going to finally get here, and we really didn't know. But I can tell you that over the past couple of months we really have seen the signs of inflation kind of showing up. Probably one of the biggest or things that have vaulted it into the mainstream was just this week Janet Yellen said inflation is coming. Those were her comments. And so that is a big kind of bringing it into the mainstream. Also, Warren Buffett, his comments at his annual meeting were, we are seeing significant inflation. And with all of his companies buying steel, buying plastic, buying energy, they're seeing much higher prices for raw goods. They're having to pass those higher prices on, either in the form of higher prices to consumers, or they're having to figure out ways to trim obviously expenses within the company to accommodate those higher prices. Even locally, I have a client that is in the import-export business, and I was talking to him and he had mentioned that prior to the pandemic, to get electronic goods from China to the United States so that he could assemble them down in Corona, it took $2,500 to buy a container. During the pandemic, it went to about $5,000. After the pandemic, today, it's about $7,500. So we're talking a huge increase just for him to get those raw goods to the United States so that they can assemble them into their products. So we're definitely seeing inflation fears come into the market. And it's not really inflation that we're worried about. Obviously, higher prices are good. Higher prices is what drives the market higher, whether it's housing market, stock market, energy market. It definitely makes things a higher price. So you have to reposition the portfolio sometimes because of that. But really it's how is the Federal Reserve going to combat, and when are they going to start taking action against inflation? And those are the things that we're really trying to look at. Originally, the Federal Reserve said that in 2023, they would start raising interest rates. At that time, we thought they're going way too far out. They backed that up and started saying it would be 2022, at the end of 2022. Now they're talking about the beginning of 2022, and we think that's probably more realistic, that interest rates will start having to be increased sooner rather than later. So what that does is it starts to take that upward trend of the market and will basically start an inflection to where it'll begin a longer downward trend in the market. And obviously we want to kind of be ahead of that if at all possible. It's still something that you always have to watch out for the Federal Reserve. A lot of times they get behind the 8 ball, they let inflation get ahead of them, and we really think this time that may be the case. They seem to have suggested that they're not going to slow it down in the early stages, they're going to wait till later on. And so we really think that inflation and the way it affects businesses, the way that it affects different companies and different sectors could be something substantial over the next 12 to 18 months, and we're making portfolio adjustments accordingly. If you have any questions or concerns regarding your own portfolio and basically how inflation would affect either your company or your portfolio, we're always happy to discuss that with you on an individual basis. Hope you have a wonderful day and look forward to talking to you again. Thank you.